Thank you. I have 4 quick questions for Director Zients. With succinct answers, hopefully we can get through all of them. Sequestration, depending on how it's administered, it could be truly catastrophic. As our witnesses acknowledge in their opening statements, the Budget Control Act specifies that sequestration be implemented in accordance with Section 256K of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act, which states that except as otherwise provided. The same percentage sequestration shall apply to all programs, projects, and activities, or PPAs, within a budget account. Defense programs, projects, and activities have been defined in the past as the most specific level of budget items identified for defense appropriations, the related classified annexes and explanatory statements, and the budget justification documents as subsequently modified by congressional action. This level of application may render some programs unexecutable based on resulting order quantities that are not economical or efficient to manufacture or produce. Additionally, some investments for low quantity orders may not be able to be fully funded even with reduced quantities. Director Zients, how do you define PPAs for the purpose of sequestration of defense accounts?
Well, I think Dr. Carter said there's about 2,500 PPAs across the Defense Department. Across the government, there are tens of thousands of PPAs. And as you said, each one of those will receive an across-the-board cut.
Will sequestration be implemented at the individual program, project, and activity, or at a higher aggregate level to afford agencies some amount of discretion and flexibility?
The law is clear. It needs to be implemented at the PPA level.
What accounts will comprise the basis of available funds subject to sequestration on January 2, 2013?
It'll be those accounts that are determined to not be exempt, and it'll also include unobligated balances on the defense side and the mandatory programs that are subject to sequestration.
Which exact spending accounts will or will not be subject to sequestration?
Those that are not exempt will be subject to sequestration, as I just described. Also, unobligated balances on the defense side are subject to sequestration, as are the mandatory spending programs that are not exempt from sequestration.
Can you provide us with a list of the exempt accounts?
That's the exercise that we launched yesterday, and we will be developing that list.
Will the authorities provided in Section 258B of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985 providing flexibility among defense programs, projects, and activities be used?
We are analyzing how the 1985 Act interacts with the BCA, and that's central to determining what accounts will be exempt and which ones will not be exempt.
Will the Department of Defense be granted any flexibility to apply sequestration in order to adjust programs and ensure continuation of critical investments?
The Department of Defense will do what the law says. It'll apply across-the-board cuts at the PPA level and then make decisions within PPAs, the most rational decisions possible.
On what basis and at what level will that authority be given?
According to the law.
In my prepared question here, it states that except as otherwise provided. How do you interpret that?
I need more context in order to understand what your question is.
If you could take a look, please, at 256K and for the record, tell us what you think except as otherwise provided means.
We will do so.
Thank you. The President's budget request for FY13 for national defense exceeded the revised discretionary spending limits by approximately $5 billion. Should such a funding level be appropriated for FY13, would the additional $5 billion be subject to sequester and included in the calculation of the available funds?
Well, that depends on whether Congress does what we all agree needs to be done, which is if balanced deficit reduction is enacted and the sequester is avoided, then no, that we return to the security, non-security caps. If, under the very unfortunate situation where sequester kicks in on January 2nd and the caps are defense and non-defense, that $5 billion will be subject to a different sequester, not the Joint Committee sequester, but the cap violation sequester.
Thank you very much for your succinct answers. We got through 5 questions, not just 4. Thank you very much.
Thank you.